Hey y'all. Hey, this is take one. Yes. Okay. Tonight's little show is just going to be for fun. Starting with what my original dreams were. Of course, I wanted to be a woman. That's just part of it. I mean, that's just a wee little bit of your dreams in life. You know, it goes way beyond that. And I had dreams like everybody else. I don't know, I had something that was built up inside of me that I really thought I was something special. And that one day somebody would see that and boom, I would be a star. And how I was going to be a star, I have no idea because I can't sing a lick. I can't play a musical instrument. I have no talent whatsoever. I can't. I mean, I've got 2 left feet. I cannot dance. And I have terrible stage fright. So how was I going to think about being a star? I have no idea. I have no idea. I just know I felt that way. And whether that star meant a star within my own right, my own life, whatever endeavor I decided to do in my life, that I would be a star in that. I kind of think that's what I was thinking on the lines of, that something would come to me, whatever it was, whatever phase I was going through, whatever kind of endeavor I was doing, that something would get behind me and take me to the top of that. I knew real quick it wasn't going to do it with modeling. Even though I would have loved to have been a star model, I was too large a framed, even though I was 5'10", which was average model height, but my bone structure was built. I couldn't physically go past 11 or 12 because of my bone structure. So there was no way I could be a model. Back then I had the face for it, and I did do some modeling. I will be honest that the very first modeling I ever did was girly modeling for magazine type of stuff. But a girl does what she's got to do, and that was pre-op. But post-op, I started doing some runway modeling, and that was because I was in a regular customer of this department store in one of the leading malls in Charlotte at the time. And they would invite people that came through the store that they thought would fit in to the Beautiful People's Association in Charlotte. And they had singles mixers and fashion shows and all that sort of like. So I was first invited to be a member of the Beautiful People's Club. Of course, this was not a transgender club. This was just a club of people, what they were considering the beautiful people that lived in the Charlotte area. And it was through one of those mixers that they had, and they always had a fashion show with these mixers. I was asked to model at some of their shows that they had. And from that, I have got a good bit of print work and that sort of thing, but it never got off the ground. Of course, I knew it wouldn't because of jealous people out there. I knew I wasn't even aspiring to become anything but just some work. You know, I enjoyed it, of course. I enjoyed seeing my picture. You know I did. I enjoyed being a part of the beautiful people. It just didn't last long enough, you know. I started putting on some weight. Then I was having to resort to plus-size modeling, and I didn't like that. So my modeling days were over, so I started doing photography. By this time I was married, and my husband backed me up and becoming a photographer. So I went to school. Actually, I was working on an associate's degree in liberal arts, which would have then went on to fine arts. And that's when I learned about photography. And I eventually opened my own studio. And it's something I enjoyed. I enjoyed photographing people because my first name of my studio was La Studio. We photograph people. So that's what I specialized in, is photographing people. Of course, for a hobby, I loved landscaping and scenery photography. I loved that. But there's too many variables out there to have to consider with your camera. Back then, you know, we used real film. So, you know, you had to know all these variables to do a great picture. And I had to have that restricted area of a studio. I could figure out those variables and usually get a great photograph. Except by children. And if you send a baby in on me, I'm going to have some drugs before that's over with. But I did do some babies, and after a long period of time, I could get maybe one or two smiles in. You know, I had the camera set up to where I had the thing in my hand. I could just click them, you know. 200 or 300 rolls of film to get one little smile. Yeah, okay. With that business, I was on a major highway in Charlotte, right out of downtown. So it was really expensive. I had to do everything to keep, you know, to pay the bills. I did passport pictures. I did the babies. And I did weddings. I did everything that it took. My favorite part was doing model portfolio work, and we were a big enough city that we had entertainers that needed publicity pictures made. All that kind of stuff was right up my alley. I loved that. And I even did a thing that was fantasy photography. I advertised that, where you could just be anybody you wanted to be, you know, Cleopatra, or you could be anything that was within history. And I had to deal with Morse costume. People pick out what they wanted and make an appointment, and I would go get the costume. And this was all in on their, you know, the sitting fee. But it was fun. I enjoyed. That was the kind of stuff I really enjoyed. But I've said I was not going to bend my head over and pick my nose. I don't know, when I get nervous, I think my nose itches a lot. I don't know, it's one of my weirdnesses, but I'm trying to not do those things so I can look a little bit better to the camera. I've been studying my videos on this downtime. You know, what have y'all been doing? So, you know, and after photography, you know, my creative side sort of uh, came to a standstill for a little bit and went in other directions, you know. After that, I bought my first house, so my direction was more or less uh, paying for the house and the renovation, because I've always loved old houses, and I bought an 1870s farmhouse. Um, It had a long story. It was the Patterson House. It was on Patterson Avenue in Mooresville, North Carolina. And it's set like this. Every other house on the street was set in another angle with the street. But what people most didn't realize is this was the Patterson House. This was the farmer who sold his land off in lots to make Patterson Heights, which was the name of the community that built up around his farm, on his farm. So I had the Patterson House, which sat catty-cornered to the street. It was funny. They didn't make the street come along his house right, but I don't know. So this was this old ancient farmhouse with 12-foot high ceilings. It had been lowered 8 to the 8 foot, and the original walls were plaster. I mean, the old kind of plaster with the horsehair in it and everything. But they had been luckily sheetrocked over. And the only reason I knew all this, because I had torn out walls and done work in this, so I knew what was behind all that. So yeah, that was my new hobby of life, was working on my house. And during that time, I dreamed of marrying Mr. Right. Went through 2 divorces, and I would have liked to have met someone that I could have shared those dreams with. I was real, lenient back then. I could have went, in a lot of different directions and went a lot of different places and become a lot of different things had I met the right person. I was very adaptable then in my 30s. And I did think that by the time I was 35 that I was going to be happily married, a Sadie, married lady. I don't know why that was important to me at that point in my life. It really was important to me. It was first to be a woman, then to be a married woman. In between there was career, even because my career was photography. I was married at that time. So I didn't just marry to become a Mrs., then once that was satisfied and secure, then I was able to go out into what I wanted to do with my life too. So I never wanted to get married to give up myself. It just, I felt like I was supposed to have a life partner. It just felt like that was what I was supposed to do. Maybe because I had been alone so much as a child. I don't know. But I always felt that. And, but I always had dreams of other things too, I had done doll designing and doll sculpting years before I ever actually became known with my Santas. I had just come to a situation by moving to Mississippi with my mother, and I thought I would easily be able to find another job within the field that I've been working that I really loved, and we'll talk about that in another video. This is just my dreams kind of video. And so I found out pretty soon that I wasn't going to be able to get a job, not within the community I was living because of my past. And my mother was needing assistance. I mean, I didn't need to be leaving a long, commute somewhere. So I thought, well, I had done doll sculpting back in the late 70s, early 80s. And I had even designed several dolls that became porcelain dolls back then. So it's not like I just jumped into making Santas. For those people who knew about my Santas, because I had already studied dolls. I had studied dolls with a lady who actually did ceramic classes, but she was a doll artist and belonged to the Queen Charlotte Doll Club in Charlotte, North Carolina, which they asked me to join, but I did not join. They were highfalutin people, and I just couldn't be a part of that. But that lady taught me how to sculpt dolls and how to create porcelain dolls. She taught me this. They said, well, I could just jumped in without any knowledge at all. So, as here I go, my nose itched, and I had to scratch it. You need to stay away from my nose, because I'm getting tired of this. I'm getting tired of watching these videos, seeing you messing with my nose. Do you understand? Okay. As long as we got this clear. Okay. I'm back. And what were we talking about? I don't know. Let's just... Yes, I had a cocktail. If I'm not old enough at 63, living alone, to have a cocktail, I don't have a drinking problem. Okay, where were we at? I choke. I'm hoping I got enough sense to edit this out. Because I am fucked up. It was going so good, too. And I lost it all. It just went somewhere. I don't know. It's just the best part of this shit. I'm videotaping this shit. And I am fucked to fuck up. I remember now. I was talking about when I started making my Santas that I did know something about doll making.